What were we going about?
Nazis built the pyramids, the aliens started the Holocaust. It's just...
We're talking about serial killers today. They're ghosts.
It's only going to get worse from here.
Yeah, it was really weird sitting here drinking this beer and the only one being drinking beer when you got a fucking Sprite over there.
Well, you know, I only have one beer. I didn't get any more, and I needed to. I mean, that was my fault. My fault.
It was your fault for sure.
Yeah, my fault. I mean, and I could bust out the one beer, but then I'm going to be like, God damn it, I want more.
They might as well just not start.
Yeah, because it's fucking icy out right now.
Yeah, I was like, you don't want to get back out. That's right. I forgot about that. Dang, we were right there at freaking Casey's.
Yeah, I should have did it while I was there. I should have.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
We went there twice because we went there this morning to check the count and then fucking go grab some energy drinks, get in and go shopping, and then we were like, shit, we got to get fuel, and I totally forgot. So
I have my energy drink.
Oh, yeah.
I still got that open in there too.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'm so bad at opening stuff.
But my thing is, I could bust out that one beer that I got and be like, cool, but I mean, I want to be able to, like, once I start, I want to be able to sit here and start singing some random ass songs by the end of this because I'm just like feeling the alcohol.
I'm feeling it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be able to sing some Neon Moon and shit.
There you go.
But welcome everybody to The Calling Couple. I'm your host Gage, along with my beautiful, lovely, wonderful co-host
Sage.
And today we're going to be talking about a movie review, but two movies of the same story to see which one was better.
Original and remake.
Yeah, and we're going to give you pros and cons of it and see what you think and which one is your favorite. But before we get into that, if you've been liking our stuff, please leave us a thumbs up. If you want to hear more, be sure to hit that subscribe and make sure that you are hitting that share and getting it out there for everybody else to hear so we can be having our algorithm into other people's feeds. But at the same time, if you want to leave us a more in-depth conversation of in the past episode or even on this episode, you can leave us an email at thecallingcouplepod@podgmail.com. We would love to hear from you. All right, so let's go ahead and...
All that yada yada.
All that yada yada.
All right.
But let's go ahead and get into this episode. Today we're going to be talking about the 1969 True Grit and...
Oh, is that what year it came out?
Yep, and the 2010 True Grit remake. But I don't think it was a remake.
Even that was a long time ago.
I think people are going to have to stop calling that one a remake.
We have decided that it is not a remake, actually. It is someone's own interpretation of the book. Because the first one is that's the word, adaptation.
Yes.
The first one was an adaptation of the book called True Grit.
Which came out in 1968, which is very weird how fastly they did this.
They just loved it. It should have just been a movie because, people loved that book so much so quickly. They're just like, fuck it. It went straight to movie.
Yeah, it was like what they did with 50 Shades of Grey, man. They would like...
No, that was actually a book for a really long time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a book that just came out and they were like, boom, here we go.
There's no one heard about it for so long.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But the pros and cons, like we are really going to go into the pros and cons of the film, each film, because there was some, like... Why do people love the John Wayne one more than they like the remake? Why do people like the remake more than they like the John Wayne one? And I'm going to be really biased on a lot of this. I mean, Sage, you probably liked a lot more of the new.
I'm pretty in between now.
So to start off, which one was closer to the book? Well, they say the Coen Brothers one is pretty damn close. The newest
one, the 2010 one.
Yeah, then they say that one's the closest to the book.
What we mean is, like everyone says that the 2010 one is a remake of the 1968 one, a remake of the movie.
Yeah,
and everyone is really upset about how it did not do the original movie any justice. Well, there's a reason for that. It's because the 2010 one is also an adaptation of the book. It is not a remake of the original movie.
Yep.
And that's something that we did not realize the first few times we watched it.
Now, I know some people are sitting here just like, well, what the fuck? We've already dealt with this shit back when it came out and all this and that. True. But you know what? We felt that I found the bundle package of both movies for a price. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to buy it. And I'm going to see which one is good. Kind of go back and see what the fuck was the whole hype about.
No. I personally, for us, we're notorious for that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Man, like, we never talk about stuff when it is mainstream. We're really good at, like, because when things are mainstream, everyone's talking about them, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, everyone stops talking about them, like it never existed. Because when it was mainstream, it was people's personalities, man. It was the most important thing in the world at that time, right?
Yep.
Like, nothing was more important than that thing. It was your world. You were basing your whole life off of it. And then, like, maybe a year or two later, it just suddenly doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we hate about mainstream shit.
Yeah, we don't try to jump right on the trend trains because we like to see how it plays out.
We know they're going to die off. So we wait for them to die off. And then we watch it ourselves to see if it was just hype or if it actually was good.
Yeah.
And we're here to remind you about that cringy phase of your life too.
Yeah. Right. But so like in 2010, I remember when that came out, when this movie was out and everybody was just like in a hullabaloo about it. I know I was one of them, yeah. But I had also watched it whenever it had been out for a few years. And I remember watching it, and I remember watching the original one back when I was younger. And I really didn't I wasn't like, oh my God, that was one of the greatest movies ever, because I watched it as a kid, so I didn't really understand a lot what was going on. But, you know, it was a John Wayne film. My Aunt Kathy was a huge John Wayne fan, and she watched him all the time, so I watched it. It wasn't until I got older that I really started getting into John Wayne again and all that kind of stuff, but I did watch a lot of his movies. I had a couple that I really liked of his, but...
Yeah, you got me into the John Wayne movies.
Yeah, I did. I got you into the Western, really. I mean, like, besides your grandmother and all that stuff watching it all the time, you never really sat down and watched one until we watched Tombstone, which we still got to talk about that one. That's one of ours that we should talk about.
I thought we did.
We kind of touched it.
I think maybe I'm just so used to talking about that movie.
True.
But I think I'm like, surely we already podcasted about my favorite Western. No, I just fucking talk about it all the time.
So let's get back on track with this the which one is which. So the Coen brother one is...
Say the year, because I don't know what you mean.
Okay, the Coen brother one is the 2010, the one which had a phenomenal cast. I mean, you had a great cast in that movie. You had Matt Damon and Jeff Bridges and the
main bad guy.
Yeah, the main bad guy, Josh Brolin. There's so many that you had that was just absolutely phenomenal. Haley Steinfeld and the fucking goddamn it, what's I'm trying to think of his name. The one that played Ned in it. Hold on, let me get the cast pulled up here. Give me a second. Sorry. The one that played Ned Pepper in the 2010. So we had Jeff Bridges, Haley Steinfeld, Matt Damon, Josh Brolin, and Barry Pepper. Of course, we had General Hux.
His last name is Pepper, and the bad guy's name is Ned Pepper.
Holy shit, ain't that something?
That's hilarious.
Which I like Barry Pepper, by the way. He's one of my favorites. I've liked him in a lot of the movies I see him in. But yeah, you had a really good cast in it. So the thing is about the Coen brothers that didn't sit well with me. It wasn't that they didn't stick with a lot of the same dialogue and shit like that. There was things that they could have done, that they should have done, that I really enjoyed out of the 1969 True Grit version, John Wayne's, is for one, how it was told. Like, there was so many things that we were given of, like, the opening scene where the daughter is talking with her father, trying to convince him to get a new gun, and how the gun plays into this story.
Oh yeah, the intro to the 2010 one kind of lackluster.
Yeah, it didn't really give you a whole lot of who or how the story's building up. And the original, or the one that came out back then, it opens up with it. It opens up with how the dad dies, why he was doing his journey, the kind of relationship he had with his daughter, and why she was so hell bent on getting revenge and all that kind of stuff. So we had that opening, which really helped set the mood for the film. Where the 2010 one, it was kind of like we got told it. We were told what would happen, and we were kind of just like, okay, how am I invested in this story? Like, where do I get invested? And so that to me, I was just like,
I think you've thought the same thing about the lead actress who plays Maddie in both movies.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them, the original, she had a lot more feeling to her. Her grit, as you can say.
Yeah.
And then the remake, or the 2010 one, she was very robotic.
Yeah, she was very direct, very like, I'm a girl on a mission, like no real emotion.
It didn't come off as like, with a lot of, it didn't come off as heart and strength. It came off as what we would call modernly, she's on the scale, on the spectrum. She came off very autistic.
Yeah, and that's
as if
where
she had no emotion.
Yeah, and that's where it's like this isn't a girl who was in grieving and a lot of hurt and pain and don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah,
kind of
way. This came off as if she had no emotion to begin with, and in the original, you felt that.
Yeah,
she was in the denial stage of grief.
But she was also very smart. She was very talented at running books, and that's how they opened up the movie. In the 1969 version, they opened the movie up with her running the books for her dad's ranch. Of, hey, this is where we're at, this is what we're doing, here's the money for the horses that you're about to go buy.
They mentioned the bookie thing once in the 2010 version. And that's when she actually ran into the bad guy near the end of the movie. And
that's what sucks, is because that was actually a very strong point of this character. This character's supposed to, like, in both versions, you see her go and haggle the banker, which I mean,
it's what she did for her farm.
Yeah, and the 1969 version, I'm sorry, but Kim Darby, who played Maddie, just, for me, really sold it as, and this woman had no acting experience whatsoever. This is her first film, and she did such a killer job for me to believe that she is this stubborn, bullheaded, but intelligent as fuck girl going on a mission where it's got a lot of dangers, a lot of things that she's never experienced before, because she's been a goody two-shoe little daughter growing up on a nice, wealthy ranch. That she, like, this girl just pulled it all together, where Haley Steinfeld just really didn't get it for me. And I'm sorry. I know I've seen her in other shit. I like her in other shit, but this one, I just felt there was no emotion. Like, when she took on this thing, it was no fear. She had no, like, hesitation or any giddy about her to make it like she's still a kid. And that's where I was like, man, she's supposed to be like this 14, 15-year-old girl. And you were just like looking at this girl that's like, I'm 28 years old. I am this way. You look at me like I'm an adult. And it's like, that's where the charm came from the original, was where she still acted at times as a kid. And yeah, you get that one little scene. It was the same kind of scene, but sure, it, like, they tried to play it. Now, I'm not going to say she did absolutely horrible. I just felt that she could have been a lot more. So let's go into the next character. We're going to save Bridges and Wayne for last. Okay, I want to save them for last because that's
your biggest thing.
They were the biggest conflicts of.
And for totally different reasons, because Wayne has his downfalls too.
Yes, Wayne does have his downfalls. I will say that. So, like, let's go with LaBeef. I don't know why it's LeBeau.
That's how you spelled that back then.
Right, but it's LaBeef, and the 2010 version had Matt Damon as him. I'm going to say sure. I agree that he is pretty good. I mean, I like Matt Damon as an actor and a lot of things he's in, but when it comes down to it, Glenn Campbell, for me, was way better.
I'll be honest, this movie doesn't go over well nowadays because of LaBeef's character.
Yeah.
Because Maddie was 14.
Yeah.
And LaBeef is like a 38-year-old man.
Mm.
And let's just say it gets a little bit romanticized between the two of them a few times. And while that went over hilariously in 1968, that does not go over well in 2024.
No, it doesn't. But it was, like I said, yet again, you had Kim Darby, who was playing Maddie, who you believed she could handle her own when it came to a conversation. So
Oh yeah.
even though he made those advances, she was like, "You are nowhere near smart enough for me, so stay away."
Because she always tried, like you said, she was trying to act like an adult, but she was just a 14-year-old girl, and he was like making the jokes and like, I don't know whether to steal a kiss from you or bend you over my knee and spank you, and like she would just have like rebuffs back for him that came off very well in the 1968 version.
Yes, but
in the 2010 version, they came off very meek and childlike, as if it was very yuck. You know?
Right.
I'm like, ooh, gross. Let's not say those lines.
And yet again, that's where I feel that the Kim Darby version, her portrayal she is a very intelligent fucking kid.
Yes.
Like, she's still a kid, but she's very intelligent.
Yeah, and she came off that way in the 1968 version. But in the 2010 version, she didn't come off as smart. She just came off as, I don't know. I don't know how
she came off Terminator for me.
Well, it's not even that. Almost like she needed to be set down a few pegs, you know, like full of herself. There we go. She came off full of herself. She didn't come off smart. She came off like she was never self-righteous and never set foot off that fucking farm in a day in her life.
Yeah, which
was not smart. She never sounded smart to me that whole movie. She just sounded like a girl who's never been off the ranch.
Yeah, but like Matt Damon's LaBeouf, the way they introduced Glenn Campbell, which I'm sorry, Glenn Campbell was just perfect. He looked like he was a Texas Ranger. He had the look, he had the attitude, he even had the charisma.
I wish I had paid attention more to that one because I really did like Matt Damon's his portrayal.
Now I did like Matt Damon's, but for me, he didn't look like he would be a Texas Ranger. And like he may have the attitude down. He may have had that like, I need to prove that I belong here, that a Texas Ranger can do this.
But I like how they were like talking about Texas Rangers and how they all acted like that. Like, we have to prove that we belong here. It's just like, that's what makes you don't look like, that's what makes you like, if you don't belong here, it's because you're always having to prove it. It's like, dude, just be a Ranger. There's no need to be like always trying to prove yourself. Like, calm down, man. You're here because you need to be.
Yeah, and like with Matt Damon's character as LaBeouf, he
it's LaBeouf. You can quit saying LaBeouf.
I know. LaBeouf is that there was no character arcs compared to the Glenn Campbell version, where Glenn Campbell made mistakes.
We're not talking about Rooster yet, because I was fixing to say the same thing about him. I was like, there's no fucking character arc for him either.
Well, but like with Glenn Campbell's version, it was one of those, he made mistakes. He got orders to do something and wouldn't listen to him.
Yeah.
And made those mistakes to where now the lead character and him are bashing heads of like, why the fuck can't you listen? Quit being a Texas Ranger and listen to me for a minute, and we can get this done.
Like, yeah, I know you're a Texas Ranger and you do have every right to be here right now. But I'm the marshal of this area, okay? I know it better than you. I know these outlaws better than you do. Like, all you have is stories. I was literally in the war with these fuckers.
Yes.
Like, he was, like, giving them shit. Like, LaBeouf was giving Cogburn shit about being in a soldier group with these outlaws. And he's all like, that was the only thing to do after the war, was either become marshals, become a part of the law, or become outlaws. Those were the only options for soldiers.
Which is still true to this day.
It's still true to this day, yeah.
But,
sad.
I mean, so in the Coen Brothers, the 2010 one, Matt Damon really didn't have much of a arc. Like, he was absent for most of the fucking movie. And then when he showed up, we're trying to have to fucking rebuild off of this.
Yeah, we're like we had like a perfect moment, and then he came in and it ruined it.
Yeah, it just kind of threw it off.
Had a perfect setup, and then this guy comes in, all like, without staking the place out, just straight through the front door. You guys gotta watch this movie, man.
Yeah, like,
you don't know what we're talking about.
You can choose which one you want, or you could watch both and see which one you like better. But neither one of them are a remake or original. They're just an adaptation.
They're adaptations of the same book. They're not based off of each other.
Now, one thing I'll throw in here before we get to the next character that I want to talk about is the way the movies were shot. One, The 2010 version was too rushed. It was too fast paced. It
was so rushed, man. Freaking Jeff Bridges. I mean, like, when he was storytelling, you're like, I can't. He's talking. He's not breathing in between his words. I'm like, huh? What's he talking about?
And that was what
he's talking to.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, is that there is no time, there's no pause for anything that he's saying for you as the audience member to watch it, to grasp what he's trying to tell you.
Yeah, because, like, until you said something, I was not listening to what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was just rambling, because old men ramble, you know?
Right.
And I thought that's what they were doing. I was like, because it was focusing on her face the whole scene.
Yeah.
And so I thought, like, oh, well, it's just a man rambling, you know? It's just an old guy rambling. And that's what he was doing. Because it kept focusing on her. But yet, you were supposed to be paying attention to the story. Because he was telling you about his life. He was telling you about his family. And that was kind of important for his story arc. And I'm just over here like, huh? Like, I'm supposed to be listening to what you're saying? And I was not the whole fucking time.
But another thing is, like, not only did the story not stop long enough for you to really grasp what was being said in dialogue, the pace was really fast. And what's crazy is the 2010 version is 1 hour and 50 minutes long, and the 1969 one is only 2 hours and 12 minutes, which is absolutely insane to me. How they're almost the same runtime.
Yeah, but yet one feels rushed.
One feels rushed, and we missed something that the 69 version gave us, was beautiful scenery shots.
69.
You had a lot of fucking scenery that was given in there to kind of show you how long this trek is taking and the land that they're having to travel through to get to these guys, to where the other one doesn't feel that way.
Yeah. The beautiful scenery in the original, in the 69 one is so great.
Now, I will say this. I do know that the book talks about more of this being in snow and a lot colder weather and stuff like that, which the 2010 version did give.
It did do that.
It did pick up on that. But when it comes down to actually, like, showing us how long it was, no. The thing that I absolutely hated, that I was like, dude, you could have cut that entire thing out and gave us more scenery shots, was the moment he found that medicine dude.
Oh, yeah, the medicine man. I think the only reason they brought him in, they could have cut the scene. They could have made it into like a 2-second, like, hey, it's snowing. Do you know somewhere we can, like, shelter? Then he said where to shelter. But all the other stuff could have been cut out. The only reason he was important was because the LaBeef also ran into the same guy.
Yeah.
And that's how he found the place that they went to shelter at.
Now, that's
why he was important. That's the only reason.
That's something I'll get to here in a minute about that whole scenario. So, Josh Brolin as Tom Chaney, the guy who killed the girl's father and all this and that, like,
Thanos.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
he didn't have much to work with.
He really didn't. Not compared to the other guy, where the other guy, you really believed that he was this snaky, conniving person that was...
In the 2010 version?
No, in the 1969 version.
Okay.
Where he was just like... You believe that he was playing stupid to get what he needed.
And Chaney?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then go on. Josh Brolin... I like Josh Brolin, but I don't feel like that was a part for him.
Yeah, he just seemed like a guy down on his luck the whole time. Like, you kind of felt for him.
Yeah. Like, when he was saying, why is everything happening? Why is it always me?
Yeah,
you kind of felt like, oh, yeah. Compared to the other guy where he felt conniving the entire time, to where you were like, oh, that's his thing.
Yeah, Chaney, this stuff just happens to him. It's happening to him. He's not in charge of the things that are happening.
Right.
Which I'm just like, really? Okay, that's what we're going with? But everyone says that's closer to what the book was like. Which,
okay, I get it. But as Josh Brolin goes, they could have gave him a little bit bigger part. I mean, honestly, they could have switched him with Matt Damon, and it would have been
that would have been cool.
It would have been way better.
Cool to make LaBeef freaking Josh Brolin.
It would have fit better, too. Because he's got that look like he could be a Texas Ranger.
Just Josh Brolin. Like, I don't like his hair all, like, misfitty like that.
Right. And Matt Damon's used to doing all these, like, small roles.
Yeah, he totally could have pulled that off so much better.
He would have pulled that off to a T. And I get it. Both these movies won awards, so they're not bad.
I will do a good note, though. I do think Matt Damon and Jeff Bridges played well on each other.
They did.
When they were making fun of each other.
Yeah.
Like, how long y'all been saddled up on sheep over there in Texas?
And so did John Wayne and Glenn Campbell. They both had good chemistry off of each other. And Glenn Campbell never acted before. That was his first movie too, and he worked out very well. Which, by the way, it was supposed to be Elvis Presley. That was supposed to be.
Oh yeah, that's a really cool fact that you told me. I was like, that's so cool. Elvis Presley was supposed to play him. Huh?
Yep, but he wanted more money than what John Wayne was getting. They were like, no, it's going to be equal across the board. And so
can you imagine how famous that movie would have been? If John Wayne and Elvis Presley were in the movie together.
I'll say this right now, that if I went to my Aunt Kathy's house, my mom was there. My mom was a huge Elvis fan. My Aunt Kathy was an Elvis and John Wayne fan. That movie would have been played all the goddamn time.
It would have been on constant loop on that phone. On that TV.
It would have. So, honestly, Josh Brolin, yes, he really, for me, he was a 7 compared to the other guy who was a 9, where you really felt that he was that conniving. Let's move on to our last one before we talk about our mains.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the Ned Pepper character. So Ned Pepper...
And not only the character, but more of the scene itself that you didn't like.
There was some of it to... Barry Pepper and Robert Duvall. Robert Duvall played Ned Pepper in the original, or the 69 version, and Barry Pepper played in the new one. Man, those two, I felt like they were side by side when it comes down to them playing this character. Like, they were both just right there for me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the guy who died.
The guy who died
in the cabin.
Oh, no.
I thought that's what you were talking about.
That's General Hux. No, we're not going to talk about...
I thought you were talking about him.
We could talk about that, but, I mean, the 1969 death was way more impactful for me because they actually let it play a little longer.
It was supposed to be her first death that she had been a part of. It was supposed to be an impactful scene. In 2010 version, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was, like I said, they rushed a lot, and that's what kills me is, like, the other movie, they showed so much and didn't take away anything from the Coen Brothers stuff. That the Coen Brothers could have just added the same amount of stuff in that the 69 version did.
I think they were trying not to add anything. They were trying to be pure to the book.
I get that, but so Barry Pepper and Robert Duvall, I mean, honestly, if you put them side by side, it's hard to tell who is who in this role because they both just capture it for me. I mean, they are just on it. And like when I watched the 2010 one, I was just like, holy shit, man. I get a strong Robert Duvall vibe from this, and it was really good. I really did enjoy it. So you guys, honestly, awesome. But did you know that fucking Robert Duvall and John Wayne actually did not like each other? When they worked together, it was one of those that Robert Duvall is a very method actor, and he got into it with the director a couple times, and it pissed John Wayne off to where John Wayne was wanting to fight him.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So now let's get on to our final actors that we're going to be talking about, the final character, Rooster motherfucking Cogburn. All right.
This badass motherfucker.
This character was so fucking fun. It was so cool. I really enjoyed this character. Now, who had the better introduction?
Yeah, the introduction, totally John Wayne.
John Wayne had the better introduction because he was a character who was already out on a mission, rounding up some bad guys to bring him home. And that's how we get introduced to him. She sees him. She's like, holy shit, this dude is a bad motherfucker. And like, okay, I want this guy to help me out. Unlike Jeff Bridges, where we get him shitting in an outhouse.
Passed out in an outhouse.
Like, oh, wow, way to make this guy feel like a strong character. Like, I don't see how he would be a marshal I would go for. If I was listed off those 3 marshals that sheriff listed off, I'd be like, I'm probably going to go with someone else because you don't seem like you got nothing.
Yeah, you don't seem like the guy I'm after.
Like in the John Wayne one, it was, you want something done, he is the most ruthless guy that you can find, and he'll get the job done.
Yeah. And
this one, it was, he's the most ruthless guy that'll get the job done when he's not drunk.
When he's not intoxicated.
Now, let's talk about their alcoholism real quick. Jeff Bridges made it to where it was a crippling effect.
Yeah.
Which, I get it, that is close to the book, okay, all this and that. Yeah, but it glorified it way too much.
No, the original, or the 1968 glorified alcoholism.
It was
because he was a badass, whether he was drunk or not, which means you can drink all you want. If you like, because John Wayne's a badass when he drinks, so if you drink, you'll be a badass too, like John Wayne.
Well, no, because even John Wayne's both characters missed their shots and all this and that when they were doing the whole shoot-off kind of thing. And John Wayne missed his and shit. So there were similarities, but it was more fun to watch John Wayne be drunk than it was Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, you wanted to look away when he was drunk.
Yeah, because it was one of those like you're watching a movie, you're reading this book, you're wanting to kind of disassociate from your what could be real trauma shit. So having John Wayne do it, it was a little bit more fun, fluky, and it would make it more comedic things happen when he would be drunk doing stupid shit. Where Jeff Bridges couldn't tell if he was haunted by something or what it was. Like, there was no real...
Yeah, they never really laid into why he was so drunk all the time.
Yeah, unlike...
I mean, I think you were supposed to get that when he was rambling. But, like I said, I barely understood a word he was saying the whole fucking time.
Yeah, because in the John Wayne one, they kind of touched on more of how, yeah, he went down and fought bad guys in Mexico and was in the war and had this and had that. Like, you could see why he wanted to drink, because it was a good way for him to fucking let go of shit and forget about it. Jeff Bridges didn't give you much of that to really be sympathetic for his alcoholism, unlike John Wayne's, which why I like the John Wayne one better, for the fact that it was one that the story arc helped you with understanding it and coping with it, and the girl was on his ass the entire time about drinking, of, hey, enough is enough, I need you to do this job. Jeff Bridges was like, fuck you, I don't want to do any of that. You ain't telling me what to fucking do, da-da-da-da.
Yeah, and she didn't really lay on him a lot.
And she didn't either. When she did, the 2 times the entire film.
Yeah, I was going to say, she said things. She said, you could drink that whole bottle, and then the other time she was just like, I really wish you wouldn't drink when we were trying to do work. And that's literally all she said.
Yeah, in the 69 version, she was on his ass almost every 10 minutes of... You really need to quit. You need to hold yourself together and all this and that. But like I said, we get some cute scenes with John Wayne where he shoots the rat and all that kind of stuff. And when he wakes up from his bed.
Yeah, oh my God, it was so funny. The rat scene is like, wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, and that's where it became cutesy alcoholism, where Jeff Bridges wanted to do a very serious form of it. And
at the time, in 2010... I understand. Alcoholism didn't want to be glorified at all. It wanted to be this gross, freaking cringy look away thing. Like, we were trying to stop alcoholism.
They took out some of the jokes that I get, but that's what made the John Wayne
and then leave in the pedophile ones?
Yeah.
You left the pedophile jokes in,
but you took out all the...
But you took out the funny shit. I don't understand.
Yeah, you took out any of the funny ones about his landlord who... He lives in a fucking Chinese grocery store, and his the scene where John Wayne was like, "Oh, that Chinaman sold me funny bullets."
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it was shit like that they took out. But I'm like, you could have left that in there for Jeff Bridges to say, and it would have been funny. It would have.
No, Jeff Bridges when he was shooting, he did say something about his bullets. He just didn't say the Chinaman part.
Yeah,
he said, he's like, oh, it must have been selling me some bad bullets, something like that, something funny like that.
Yeah.
And then.
But you didn't know who he was blaming it on.
Yeah. And then LaBeef shot and missed too. He said, you must buy bullets same place.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying though, is the whole you found it funny because we already had that character built up in the beginning of the movie, all this and that. So okay, so when it comes down to John Wayne being Rooster Cogburn, yeah, when you're watching it, you know it's John Wayne. It's hard to disassociate with John Wayne being somebody else, but his way he does things made you still enjoy it. It was still fun to watch. It was still a good time. And some of the dialogue, some of the lines that he delivered were way more impactful than Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges, we all know that everybody's biggest complaint was his accent, his
You could not understand a word he was saying, man.
and I think it was also the fact that
That's
how
coming
fast,
from people in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
We're used to the mumble accents.
which I mean, these characters and stuff were supposed to be close around Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, and shit. So you'd figure that it would be a little better, but at the same time, he didn't slow down. He didn't pause to let what he said take effect. Unlike John Wayne, where he would say something and pause and kind of reflect on what he just said to add more.
Like if you're saying something impactful, you got to stop and do the reflection, you know? Because your audience needs to reflect on what you just said. If you just stumble over it and then you say on to your next line, there's no time for the audience to think about what you just said, so they're just not paying attention to what you're trying to say now, and they're not even thinking. Like I'm saying, I don't remember what he was rambling on about most of the time because I was too busy trying to understand what he was saying the whole time.
Yeah. And that was the thing, though, was like when John Wayne talked about his wife and his son and shit, there was a lot that he was going in about that he was just, and the girl provoked it out of him. It wasn't one that he just got drunk and started talking about. And so she provoked it out of him, and he started talking about her, and you kind of felt like, oh man, this dude's been through some shit.
In the John Wayne one?
Yeah, in the John Wayne one.
In the other one, he was just drunk and riding his horse and rambling.
Yeah, and it was hard to keep up with. But that's what I'm saying. Is like when you put those two scenes together of them talking about that same thing, which one lands harder on you? And it's going to be the John Wayne one. Be the John Wayne one. Because sadly, it's going to be one of those that he takes that moment to let the audience enjoy it and be like, damn, okay, this is a good character build. When it comes down to grittier, I would say that is broken up into two different categories in this one.
I'm going to say the 2010.
The 2010 one was a dark gritty, where the actual lively West feel would be from the John Wayne gritty. I mean, someone who you feel is a true cowboy, a true lawman, a true guy that this is his life. This is what he does for a living. And yeah, he's doing all this. And the reason why he's drinking is because of all the years of servitude and all that. Where Jeff Bridges just felt a little more dark, but without giving us much to go off of how dark he really was being. And that's where I just feel when it comes down to it, Wayne's Hogburn is a little better. So I'm not saying Bridges was horrible. I'm not. I wish that the directors would have been like, hey, back up on your accent a little bit, like really hone him in a little more, because I did forget that was Bridges at some points of the movie. I was kind of like, holy shit, this isn't just Jeff Bridges I'm watching. This is starting to become a character, which is great. But, man, they just rushed it so much that I could not feel for this character.
I did love his the final scene with him when he's running with the girl in his arms.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. I did like that scene.
Yeah, when it comes down to that, they added more in the 2010 of where the girl went to, Rooster actually dying, and we didn't get that scene like in John Wayne's where she's like, this is my family's grave and I'd love for you to be buried here, all this and that. Which, I mean, it was close to the book. It was there, but it was just too soon. They didn't want to, they kind of rushed that ending there, but unlike the 2010 where they kind of made it years later, 25 years later, Rooster Cogburn's dying. Now, the biggest thing is John Wayne was 61 years old when he was playing this character.
Really?
Which Rooster Cogburn was supposed to be in his 40s. So he was already an old man trying to play a younger man.
Nice.
Unlike Jeff Bridges, who was a little older than what the character should have been, but still young enough to feel in that setting.
Yeah, yeah.
So in that aspect, yeah, I would say as a man who's supposed to be in that age time, sure, Bridges did a lot better. But when it comes down to just feeling like this person had experience and had trauma and had a lot of issues, I'm going to have to give it to Wayne. He just, it felt more genuine from there than it did with Bridges. And I'm not
saying I don't like Jeff Bridges' version, but I'd have to give it to John Wayne too.
Yeah, I mean,
I think I laughed more in that movie.
Yeah, but it was also the time period too where they couldn't go as dark and violent as we can nowadays, and that's why I really wish. The biggest complaint I will have about the 2010 version is if they would have slowed it down, let everything be set in for people, cut a few things out, and add more scenery shots, more journey, and give us something that build this story is all I wanted.
Yeah, their type of dark and gritty is a lot different than our dark and gritty.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are some things that John Wayne's version did that ours would never do.
Yeah.
And it's, well, I mean, it kind of did, but it didn't hit it as much as John Wayne's did.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to always be caught up on the little, like, touch-and-go-y pedophilia version,
Mm-hmm.
In the original, he bent her over his knee, started spanking her.
Mm-hmm.
And John Wayne pulled the gun on him
Mm-hmm.
and said, "You're liking that too much."
Yeah.
And I liked that. I didn't. I thought that was, I don't like how they're glorifying pedophilia. But the fact that John Wayne called him on it.
It was a little bit sterner.
It was a lot sterner. In the 2010 version, he pulled the gun on him and told him to stop. But didn't say, "You're enjoying that too much." He didn't say that. And I really wish, and if you're going to leave the pedophilia in there, you better leave the call out on there too. That's the thing. If you're going to be that dark, if you're going to leave the serious questions, then you better fucking leave the serious answers in there too.
I agree. I mean, they really should have. There should have been a little bit more to it. Like I said, slow it down. Like some of the scenes that we watched in the '69 version was more fun. Like when she came across the river, and they were like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then they take off on her, and she's having to chase him down. That's when you get to the switch scene where he starts whooping her. Mm-hmm. In the 2010 version, she makes it across, and they were just kind of like, bravo.
No, he jumps down and switches her.
Well, yeah, but
that's when Jeff Bridges pulls the gun out and tells him to knock it off.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying, though. Is like, they're more of just like, ooh, big fucking whoop. Now, get down here, I'm going to whoop your ass. Unlike in the 20 or the 69 version where they were just kind of like, damn, this girl's got some drive to her, like we should be kind of...
Yeah, they gave her some kudos for it.
Yeah,
But not in the 2010 version. The 2010 version, they just treated her like a little brat.
Yeah, so, like I said, it's up for the viewer, the person watching the film. But if you like these films, tell us which one that you like, which one is your favorite, and where you feel which one is better than the other, or if they're both great. Like, it's great if you like both of them, and I'm all for that. But as for me, like... To conclude all this, Sage, where do you feel, which one is your...
Which one did it better?
Yeah, which one did it better for you?
Gosh, dang it. Man, the John Wayne one, man.
I'm going to have to say...
I knew you would, but I didn't want to. I really wanted to give it to the fucking 2010 version. But I can't because I've seen the original. I've seen both versions now, so I'm just like... There are lots of parts I really, really like in the 2010 one.
Mm-hmm.
But all together, I'd have to give it to the original.
I'm going to have to give it to the original, and here's why we're both giving it to the original. The storytelling is a lot more fun to go with. It gives you more of, like, when you read a book, you're reading...
That's actually why I don't like giving it to the original one. Is because the 2010 version is closer to the book. Than the 69 version. And I hate that because I'm a book girl, okay? I love books. I read the books first. And whichever movie is closest to what I've just read, that's going to be my winner, no matter what. But not when it comes to True Grit. When it comes to True Grit, the freaking one that is farthest from the book is the better one. And I hate saying that.
But here's why. Because it feels like you are reading a book. You're getting all of this, like, details that you don't get in the 2010 version. You're not getting details of seeing scenery. Because, the book is telling you all the descriptions of everything that's going on around.
Yeah, you're right. But that is actually one of the flaws of why people who read the book hated it. Was because books, you're right, books tell you about the scenery. They tell you about all that's going on. And in the 69 version, it's fall. It's like spring or whatever. It's a good weather.
Yeah.
In the book, it's snowing.
And I get that. But that was also shooting time and
Like, there's only so much they can do back then. I get it.
Right. And it wasn't the technology wasn't state of the art to be like, hey, I take that back, because they had some movies that were shot in snow and stuff like that. But it's also getting your cast to sign on for it. And that's going to be hard for some actors, especially John Wayne, who's in his 60s. Like, I'm not going to want to go sit in the Rockies and be cold the entire fucking time, do this. Yeah. Like, I want to tell the story, but goddamn.
That's probably, and like we read up on it and all that, and John Wayne gave everyone a real hard time on that movie.
Yes, he really did.
But knowing how old he was now, I'm kind of like okay with that.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm like, he was an old man. You will cater to that old man.
Right. I mean, that's the thing, though, is like, he's an old man, so they're going to cater a little bit more to him. They're also going to be like, it's not going to be fun for him. And if you guys ever notice, like, if you watch a John Wayne film, you'll see him wearing some kind of copper on his wrists and stuff. That was for arthritis and stuff. So imagine an old man being in the Colorado Rockies with barely anything on to shoot a movie. He's going to be like, fuck this. This is too cold. This hurts.
They wouldn't have been able to get him in on the movie.
So they made compromises of like, hey, we'll get rid of the snow, but we'll make it look like it's cold, or actually do some kind of cold stuff to kind of give it there. But, I mean, they made some compromises from the book, but it still was fun. It was still... Yeah,
it was good. Still good storytelling.
To me, it felt like the book came to life in this one compared to the 2010 one.
And that's why you gotta call them adaptations. Mm-hmm. Because they're as closest to the book as possible. Mm-hmm. They're the script of the book.
Yeah. But
they're the director's adaptation of that script.
Yep. And that's where I say, when it comes down to storytelling, you get the long version with John Wayne's with a few little slight changes here and there, or you get the real short, sweet, straight to the point version with the 2010. So yeah. It's up to you on which one that you like, but hopefully...
They're good. They're both good for different reasons, but winner, John Wayne.
Yep, John Wayne. I'm sorry. He's going to be the winner for me of that style. But you tell us what you guys think, and if you haven't seen them yet, hey, go ahead and take a seat. You can choose which one that you want to start or watch, and then if that's the one you want to stick with it. Great.
I'm sorry we don't talk about new movies very often, but we like to be here to remind you about the old movies.
Yeah.
Because... everyone's watching the new movies. Everybody's watching them.
And everybody is also reviewing them, too.
Yeah.
So we're not going to say anything that they haven't said.
We like to go back. Back before podcasting. Back before movie reviews.
Mm-hmm. Well, no. There's always been movie reviews and critics.
Yeah. Well, I know. But I mean, like reaction videos and podcasting and stuff.
Yeah, before it became popularized.
Yeah.
We like to try to go back then and try to bring a film back to your notice, or something that you've never heard of that you're like, ooh.
Yeah, exactly. We're not saying no one's done it yet. Mm-hmm. We're just saying, we like to be out there with the people who are doing it.
But we also like to try to keep it a little bit of mainstream to something that you might have heard of on a passing.
Well, that's what our homesteading stuff is about. Mm-hmm. Because that's real popular right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some stuff out there that is popular and trendy and all that kind of stuff, but when it comes down to movies, we try to keep it a little fresh, little like, ooh, man, have you heard of this one or not? Well, then, But you guys let us know which one's your favorite, which one you're going to start with, and which one you've seen. If you've seen them both, talk to us about it.
Ooh, you know what we need to do?
But
we need to go back and do all movies that affected our generation.
That's a lot. And each their own. I mean, everybody has
we know Final Destination fucked all of us up.
Yeah.
We just need to go back into the vaults of our minds and pick out movies that, fucked us up.
All right, we'll pick out 3 movies that fucked us up, and we'll talk about those.
3 movies besides Final Destination. Yeah. Because that fucked everybody up.
Mm-hmm. They don't have to be horror films, but we will pick 3 movies apiece and see which ones fucked us up as a kid.
I can tell you one right now.
Nope, you're going to save that. We're going to save that. Yep, okay. We're going to save that for another episode later on down the road. Other than that, guys, if you guys have been listening to it and you've been loving this, let us know. And if you're out there, stay warm, because it's freezing out here right now.
There was snow on the ground and it ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, we don't usually get this kind of weather here in Oklahoma, so it's one of those.
It's not deathly, but everyone's just like, it's fucking cold.
I'll tell you right now, I could step outside and smell Canada. All right. I don't want that shit, okay? If I wanted that, I'd have moved more north. So,
yeah.
Other than that, stay warm, guys. Keep your pipes from freezing, and make sure that if you got animals out there, bring them inside if you can. If you got livestock, make sure that they're taken care of. They're nice and warm and fed, and go break that fucking ice.
Go break your ice.
And live your life, man. Be safe out there. And